Rob's Learning Tree is a peer-to-peer teaching method I developed for school students. Have you ever wished you could clone yourself in the classroom? I have. My story begins with a dilemma. At the start of the new school year, even after 44 years of teaching, I found myself stumped. When my grade 4 art classes came back to school for in-person learning after nearly 2 years of COVID lockdowns, I noticed during their first few weeks that their concentration levels, as a group, were scattered and unreliable. I was seeing a new phenomenon, a post-COVID lockdown phenomenon. One-on-one, there was no problem. But in groups of 4 or 5 or more, they seemed all over the place when I was trying to introduce the lesson, demonstrate techniques with materials, explain equipment safety, share art tips, or explain learning goals. What to do? I know better than to try and impose myself. I felt the answer did not lie in trying to change the children. Instead, the answer must lie in finding a way to adapt my role to meet them in their own present, slightly fragmented state of being. It crossed my mind that I needed to clone myself. I needed more of me in the room at the same time. That simple, improbable thought became the germ of an idea. Over one evening of reflection, quiet brainstorming, drafting some diagrams and notes, that thought sprouted, then grew the size of a sapling with its baby leaves and branches, sketching out a probable lesson plan. The next day, when I put my sapling to the test with one of my grade 4 classes, it matured into a beautiful fruiting tree, Rob's Learning Tree. Rob's Learning Tree is a method for breaking down new practical learning into micro-lessons that can be relatively quickly taught to a small handful of students who then teach their classmates. For example, I started with some bite-sized technical lessons at the start of a sculptural masks project. More about that in a minute. In the Learning Tree, one person teaches 2 people every step of the way. This process is suitable for classes up to 30 students, and I tested it with groups of 16 and 18 students. First, draw a diagram of the tree on the board with spaces for your name and then for every student in the class. Remember that each student will learn from one person, and then they will teach 2 others until all the students have been taught. You could add arrows to indicate who is teaching who, and I drew pink arrows for this. The green arrows at the end indicate that 2 of the last students to be taught, one from each half of the tree, comes back to the teacher and demonstrates what they've learned. Observing this, the teacher can check that the skills have been learned correctly. So to recap, the teacher teaches the first pair of students on the diagram. Each of those students teaches the next pair of students on the diagram next to their name. Then each of those students teaches the next 2 students, following the names written on the tree diagram on the chalkboard until everyone in the class has been taught. Now back to that mask project. We used the Learning Tree approach for 2 technical tasks. The first was how to position eye holes in masks correctly and then to cut the eye holes correctly. So for this we created a template that would be used after the 3D masks had been completed. We used lunch wrap paper, pencil and scissors. The second set of techniques was simple paper craft skills for our sculptural masks: cutting, scoring and folding 3D features and gluing tabs. Using the Learning Tree and capitalizing on the excitement it generates has helped foster a culture of peer-to-peer teaching. Recently, my 4th graders learned about cave art and created their own art cave under their desks. The following week, they became the teachers by inviting the 3rd graders for a Paleolithic art lesson. Each 4th grade student was paired up with a 3rd grade student, and they gave them a personal tour of the cave drawings under the desks. Then, using worksheets the 4th graders had handmade for them, the younger students got to draw their own special creature in the manner of the cave artists. Afterwards, many grade 4 students said it had helped them learn how to be a good teacher. Using Rob's learning tree is fruitful.